Hello YouTube, ZiggyNo back with Sports Cards Daily. Today we are going to take a focus on Panini live interviews, or I won't say live interviews, but recorded YouTube interviews in the last year with my comments and highlights on specific points. We're going to take a look at three particular interviews from Panini employees. One is Director of Sales Kevin Hawk. The other will be VP of Sales DJ. He's also Sales and Product Development. And then Tracy Hackler on Sports Card Investor with Jeff. Lastly, I will have some comments here on a video with Paul and Jeremy on Panini in some of the litigation they're involved in. Again, the goal of this video, it's going to be a detailed video, and I want you to bear with me. There's a purpose for this. I want you to see some of the things that Panini's saying versus some of the actions that they're taking, and I want your thoughts, comments, and opinion from the audience. This collector, investor, I hope this is a beneficial video. I will say I spent hours watching these videos over and over, trying to bookmark them and tag it and bring you to the right points and to make the right arguments. And I do encourage you to listen to the entire videos and give your thoughts and comments as well. As you'll see, my bookmarks are here below, and I'll be hitting on a few. First, I'm going to talk about is about top goals for Panini, making enough product.
5 years of Panini as the hobby continues to grow, and we see the market is going crazy right now. We see collectors coming back into the hobby, sometimes to the detriment of current collectors.
Right, yeah. I think primarily our goal as an organization is continue to find ways to meet the challenge of making enough product to meet demand, but to do it in a responsible fashion. We have asked the athlete to do as much as they possibly can for us, whether that's in terms of signing or jersey acquisition or minimum acquisition, things of that nature. So our primary goal is to build value for the consumer in ways that is not 100% reliant on auto min hits, right? That's really the big industry challenge, but more of the challenge for us as Panini. We've started to do that with some new SKU modifications and things like that over the last couple of years. Revolution Basketball, which we mentioned earlier, was a great example of that. It was a product that's not originally came.
Now, I want to point out what he's talking about here, right? He's basically saying that he wants to find more value in the product without being reliant on autos. Now, this is a major, major change in the industry that I think was hit by a major, this created the perfect storm. If you look at COVID, you have these increase of collectors who came in unaware of the market. But one of the things that has been holding Panini back is true collectors in the industry would complain if Panini would put out a product that didn't have true value. In other words, true player-generated materials or autographs. If it was just all refractors and colors with that, then the manufacturer can make whatever they wanted to. And that is, a lot of the collectors are fearful of basically the boom, right? You can just print whatever you want because there's no value in it. Now, that's important. Listen to what Panini's saying here.
Came out, there wasn't even an autograph in every box, and we kind of modified that, but pull down the requirements of the athlete, because then we can potentially make more, right? When every box has to have 2 autos or 3 autos in it, it's just the burden that you put on the athlete and the burden of receiving the material back from the athlete is quite heavy. It can limit what you have the ability to do. So that's really what the goal is over the next 3 to 5 years, because the hobby has been expanding. It's been expanding at a rapid pace. There's demand all across the board for it. And right now, the limitations in which we can produce product as us as a manufacturer, we've got some handcuffs on us, whether it's serial numbering scheme or asset limitations, things like that. It's about figuring out ways to effectively branch out outside those boxes, but not dilute the value that you created, right? It's a really fine line because nobody wants.
Think about what this man just said, guys. They want to branch out. They are handcuffed because collectors see value in autographs and memorabilia. And their fine line is, how do they get out of that, right? How do they make more to meet demand because people want it? Now, that's what I'm saying. COVID and what happened last year was like, it was the perfect boom. And I think this is something to pay attention to, right? I have a greater story here, but bear with me. And again, I've said this over and over, these products, these choice products, right? Every product's at a choice, every product's at a Tmall. They have devalued, for example, Panini devalued a gold in Prism. You used to see Prism gold meant to 10. It was valuable. Then they created this whole gold wave and these red waves, the Tmall products, because gold and red are apparently cool in Asia, which makes no sense to me because now you have all these unnumbered gold cards, right? Gold Tmalls. And again, what did you do? You were able to, again, trick the collector who used to see gold as numbered to 10 and expand to the investor who sees he can flip a gold wave for more than he can a silver prism. See what I'm saying?
Wants to see that product that they paid strong money for years prior or they had good value all of a sudden have a rapid change to it in terms of perception in the marketplace. So we're very, very conscious about every step we take as we move forward on these things. But that's really the overall goal. It's just to be able to make enough to keep the market hungry and satisfied for the next 3 to 5 years, because we believe there's going to be some very strong rookie classes during that time, and that we're not going to go backwards anytime soon.
All right. And we'll get.
Okay, we'll pause there. I think that's important to bring to you. And there's a lot of other things. Next thing I want to bring your attention to is the question here on Dutch Oven. And let me just, a Dutch auction. Let me first of all say, I don't mean this as an insult to Christina, but what I very, very didn't like about this interview is there's nothing about this interview. She's not interviewing. She's just asking the questions. There's no follow-up. There's no poking. And this is a specific example. Hey, tell me about the success of the Dutch ovens. Oh, hold on. I gotta get here to 3140. Bear with me. This is going to be a fun one, man, guys.
So you know, we got this call.
Perfect. So has the Dutch auction format been a success, being that you are the person who invented First Off the Line, which has been one of the most successful hobby innovations we've ever seen?
Well, I think World Auction has been a success. I think it's given people the opportunity to buy in. It's gotten rid of some of the outside internet noise, I'll just use that term, in terms of first person on the server, how many can they get, those type of deals. What Dutch auction allows people to do is it allows people to buy in at a price point they feel comfortable with. Now, that price point may never materialize if it sells out at a higher price than what somebody's willing to click the buy price at, but it still gives, for the most part, everybody a chance to buy. Now, some people argue, well, if I never had $500 to spend on the box anyway,
Okay. Wow. Did you guys want to hear that again? The question was, can you talk about the success of the Dutch oven auction? He says that this gives everybody, and I quote this down here, right here, everybody has a chance to buy. Is that true? Because let's look at Panini Prism, okay? It was a suggested retail price of $120. I'm talking football and basketball, $120. It used to be on the first of the line at $240. That was on first of the line. And people were like, oh, that's expensive, but we used to pay that. Now, when Zion came out, which was just about a year ago, it went to being Dutch oven auction around $2,000 a box, which Panini basically said, everybody gets a shot at it at $2,000. Is that what you were trying to do? And, I will say that he kind of glassed off, about complaining who gets on the server first and about bots and so forth. We've seen NBA Top Shot provide a distributed model to get people registrations to get their products. Topps has also done drops where they've set individuals, limit them one, per household or whatever. So there's ways to get products to consumers in a fair way. Right, Panini?
Have a chance to buy it. Well, if it's sold out at that price, that's kind of what the current market price is. It was an experiment for us to kind of see how some of these secondary market pricing sites have become very popular in our industry, to kind of see how that would work and how it would play in that same arena. And it's done well for us for the most part. And it's not something that all of our products will go on, but I believe that for the near future and for a lot of our first off the line and rare type opportunities, we'll see that format in play just because it brings more equity to the table for anybody who's an interested consumer.
Now, again, right there, he says that he doesn't expect these Dutch ovens to be used often, but as we know today, it is recording of this is around mid-March 2021. They're used on any hot product, right? Almost any hot product, every box basketball product, I think, goes to the oven, right? I'm going to go ahead and fast forward here to 37 minutes and because I think this is important as well. When we go to 37 minutes, we talk about how he monitors the secondary market.
Exactly. So, which brings us to our next topic and question. Do you or Panini closely monitor the secondary market for singles, boxes, and cases?
We do. Our product development team watches secondary market sales very closely because obviously that is a very immediate return of what their work has produced, right? So we look and see when Crown Royale comes out, what these are selling for, the base rookies and what the RPA patches, things of that nature. Part of my job and functionality is to continue to watch what secondary market prices go for sealed product. Now, there is a time frame in which we no longer track those things all that routinely just because we're either no longer holding inventory of those brands or we've gathered enough data points that we understand clearly where the market is. But it's something that we do keep a very close eye on because it's important, right? It goes back to what we said with the unnumbered inserts and the unnumbered parallels and things. If we believe that, hey, this is a great idea, and we think that this unnumbered insert parallel, whatever, should bring X number of dollars per box, no matter the player pulled on the checklist when it's pulled. And in reality, those things come out at 25% or 30% of the prices that we believe that they should be, generating. We have a disconnect that's there, right? So then it's like, what do we need to do better? Do we need to market better? Do we need people to understand? Or do we just need the market to come around? Those type of opportunities. So we do communicate about that consistently in our building. The basketball, football, and baseball team do a great job of watching those type of things, especially when there's.
That was an interesting example he gave you. If you're paying attention, what he's basically saying is we watch secondary market because we're concerned if we put a short print in there, like a checkerboard, and it's only selling the secondary market for 25 or 30%, what we think its perceived value is, we've done a poor job. That has never happened. Okay, that doesn't happen, right? If anything, it's the opposite. These short prints come out and they get a perceived value that they're 1 of 5 or 1 of 11 or whatever, and they get inflated values, right? Are you watching that as well? I think you feed that fire. And again, Panini, it's just, Christina, if I was interviewing you, I'd press back on that. I'd say, give me an example, because I would say the argument, Kevin, when does it ever come out at 25% the perceived value? Can you give me an example of an insert that you guys made short printed that came at 25% what you expected its value to be?
There's new players on the checklist that maybe have never had something, right? A player that's never had an autograph before, or the debut of a player in a specific set. And then we also get good chuckles out of stuff as well. Like, I think there was a thread that was going around the office here recently about this uprising of first-year Prism.
This is a great point he's going to make. And before he makes this point, I want to also say something else. In this video, he makes a comment back here that Prism, you can listen to this, Prism was almost removed from Panini products. I've mentioned that before, and it's a very important point to make. It was almost removed because collectors back in the day hated and loathed this product. It had sticker autos. It had no game material. So it was seen as a low-end, hoops-like product. What Panini did a very good job of is using the retail markets to get out and get to young investors. And what happened here, guys, is when the boom starts coming in the 2018, 19, 20, we look back at those cards and realize they're now short printed, right? Or that those silvers were rare, right? And then there's this extra value, which is then pushed the value of current. But current Prism and Prism from 2012, 13, 14 are two different products. Because again, Panini was almost going to discontinue that product back then versus this product is their cash cow. Very important to understand that. Okay, now he's going to go and talk a little bit about the chuckle. Panini chuckles at First Prism and First Optics. Chuckling, guys.
Some optic cards of particular players, whether it's Tom Brady's first year Prism card or LeBron James's or Kobe stuff. And what these
like a rookie.
Right, yeah. And like what these cards are doing, 8 years after the fact, and just that they're crazy expensive. Like the Mike Trout first Prism card, and kind of going, none of us would have expected that. But it's fun banter, right? So we don't think that will replicate itself again, because it will always be the first Prism release or the first optic release for these guys. But it's just interesting to kind of watch where some of the trends, go. And
they don't think that will replicate itself again.
We're cognizant of that. We have to be. If we're not doing our jobs as effectively as we could.
Yes, and the card that was teased earlier, the Net Marvels, which I gave you some price points for. The press group of Luca is currently $500.
Okay.
We're going to move up here.
Like, man, prices have just probably gotten a little bit nutty. Well, we'll just use it on that. In that terms, for what Adonis brand should be and the value that should be there.
I'll say right now, you can listen to this. He's talking about the value of the Donruss box last year. And he'll go into this a little bit. You can listen about how they thought about Donruss boxes. They changed Donruss last year, but they also did that change knowing that Zion and Ja would drive demand. So real quickly, Panini looked at Donruss and said, this is a crappy product because optics is dominating the market. How do we make Donruss a better product? Let's make a shorter print run. Let's add these Marvel inserts, and we will leverage the fact that we know Ja and Zion will help drive the demand on that product. So they did that deliberately. And those products last year, boxes I think were like $300 or $400 for a box of Donruss, which you'll listen to Christina complain about. This year, guys, remember, a 2021 Donruss box on Panini was $1,000. Think about that.
That's always a concern for us as well, right? When you asked earlier if we track secondary market sales and prices, we do. But we're also concerned that if things get too high, and they do, the pressure on that box to deliver when somebody eventually opens it is monumentally greater than if it was selling for at SRP or 20% above SRP. When it's 80%, 120% above SRP, even higher, that's when it gets fundamentally challenging for everybody, because the boxes aren't designed. The majority of boxes were not designed to produce that type of value, right? So that's where it gets hard for us, and it's something that we're aware of, right? And we talk about it, and we say, okay, what potentially do we do next year to change some of this if we think that things have crept too high into the stratosphere where it becomes no longer appealing to the average consumer to open it, right? Or
okay, this again, it hurts me. I want you to listen to this, and I want you to see what I'm listening to. He's talking about here, and maybe I should rewind this again, about his concern if things get too high, and these boxes weren't created to have the value that they could produce. For example, when they make a box of Donruss and they make 100 of them, they expect that maybe 10 of them are going to have a value greater than the box's SRP. They suspect 10 of them are going to have a terrible value, right? Maybe 10 to 25% of the SRP. Okay, and they say that that's important to them. They're monitoring that, and they say that they're going to monitor that in the future, but they're not, right? Because if that's the case, why are you now creating Donruss? It's the same product that you just now said was not designed to be a $400 or $500 product. Why are you selling at Panini's website this year for $1,000? Is it now made of are you telling me that $1,000 is its suggested retail price, and that I should get back that value? I mean, we can't believe that, guys, and I think that's the problem. Go on.
It's going to be such an immediate rush on the outset when it releases, because everybody's going to want to get it now because they can afford it now because they know it's going to rock it up in price. We want to avoid some of those wild swings that we see in the marketplace if we can. A lot of it's out of our control, but we have some influence on it as well, and that's where some of our years in the industry help to navigate some of those things. We're talking about future releases and how we execute our release calendar.
Right.
Okay, so again, he talks about how they want to control this, and they can use their release calendar and stuff like that. But again, boxes today, again, look at suggested retail prices. Any allocated guy watching this is going to look at this. He's absolutely right. Ziggy's right. The current market price on all these products is way higher, 2, 3, 4x what its suggested retail price was. Okay, basketball. When you listen to this part, you'll realize basketball was cheap when this was recorded. They talk about kids in the hobby. I'm here at 41.55. I'm going to move up to here. I want to bring your attention to.
We've kept it in the later window this year because we believe long-term it has viability here. So we're always looking to change stuff. I think things are going to be so far of an outlier for the Zion Ja year that really where reality is going to kind of settle out is what's going to happen in the 2021 cycle once all the Zion Ja stuff settles. Right? We've had 2 really unique years back to back. I hope we have 5 really unique years back to back because that's really good for the industry and the business. But I think normalcy will kind of settle somewhere in between over the next 12 months here or so. What happens, and Corking suffered a little bit because of that move last year. We've kept it in the later window this year because we believe long-term it has viability here. So we're always looking to change stuff. I think things are going to be so far of an outlier for the Zion Ja year that really where reality.
Okay. Again, I played that twice because what he's basically saying is, look, we know that Zion Ja is a cash cow year. And we saw that as collectors. They milked this puppy from the day one when they were making Draft Prism, okay? And college products they've never made before. He makes a comment, though, that things will go back to reality in 2021. Shocker, they haven't. Why haven't they? What is stopping that? And what does that mean for the hobby? Panini, again, you could help ground the hobby. You could enforce lower prices. You could find better ways to distribute, like Top Shot is doing, or other things to get this out to kids and more distributors and more people. But I don't think you are. I think your sales team is just collecting big bonus checks and happy to use Disty to get this deals done. And this is why I think this video is important that people watch this. Now, let's see what other things I want to talk about. Challenges in the hobby, I think, is the next one. And manufactured in a responsible manner. Let's go to 49 or 59.45.
Anybody in our organization raise their hand high and go, hey, I love it when optic basketball is 300% over what SRP would be upon release date. Those are challenges that we work as a manufacturer to help alleviate in the future. And those are things that we will discuss. But I think overall for the business, the thirst of it from the end consumer has never really been strong. And I think some of that is because the economic return that people who buy and sell can get. But I think there's a lot of joy of it because the basic fundamentals haven't changed. That experience of opening a pack and not knowing what you're going to get, or watching the break on TV or on online and not knowing what's going to come out of the box, it's an experience you just can't replicate with a lot of other things in life. And it's attractive to a lot of folks. So
he admits there are challenges with pricing the hobby, and he says again it's important to open those packs. But really what he's created with this distribution model that Panini's using is, I think there's just people sitting on hordes and hordes of sealed wax that they're going to be milking for the next few years. And we're going to see 5 years from now how long and how bad these print runs really were. That's my fear right now. Last comment he makes here, manufactured as a responsible manner. Let's see what he says here on 201.
Buyer base. How big is the hobby? Do you have numbers of these kinds?
We've got data points that we get from a variety of different sources. I think that the hobby itself is probably on its fastest upward trajectory that it's been on since the late 80s boom, right? The difference is it's that product is manufactured now in a more responsible manner due to some of the factors that we were talking about, the influence of athletes and the restriction of what we can get in terms of asset base. But overall, there's a lot of new energy that's been brought into the hobby. Breakers have been...
You hear that? He said that it's being manufactured in a responsible manner because there's a limit on what can be brought in from athletes. At the same time, in the same interview, he talked about how they're trying to get away from being dependent on athletes' autographs and memorabilia. And again, talking out both sides of your mouth in the same interview drives me crazy. But let's look at the market. What has the market done? They have just created more products that have less athlete autographs and memorabilia, right? Okay. Now, this is one interview. Again, I will say, here's a funny story. When I go ahead and click the submit button here, House of Jordan has ZiggyNo blocked, so this will not show up in the comments. I will post these with a different username, so hopefully this will be there, but just so you know, ZiggyNo is blocked on House of Jordan. Separate comments. Moving over, I want to bring your attention. You can take an intermission if you like to. We're going to go ahead and jump into the next interview, which is very, very important. And this came out in September 4th, 2020. And some things I'm going to bring to your attention. They talk a little bit about the logo man and the excitement of Giannis, his logo man, selling for a big amount. It gives you a little background on this VP of sales. So he started at Skybox, he went to Fleer. He makes a comment here at 3:45 that I think is worth playing about how he is now the VP of sales and marketing.
North of Dallas, so I'm in a suburb. But that's it. So my background is product development / sales. And when I came to Panini in August of 12, I was strictly the VP of sales. In August of 15, we restructured and I became the vice president of sales and product development. And what's important about that, and I'll wrap this up because I know you got other questions. What's important about that is typically in a business organization, sales and product development usually wrestle, right? Because sales wants more stuff. Product development's like, now we don't have enough assets. So in our situation now, I'm sort of the referee of both groups, and it's my job to make sure that we somehow come to a peaceful resolution. So it works really, really well for our company.
That's great.
So right off the bat, man, again, I hope you guys are paying attention. If you're in business, like many of you are, please help me understand when it has been beneficial that the product VP and sales VP are the same person. Normally that back and forth is a good constructive balance in what the company can promise and what the company can deliver, right? Because sales will promise, but it's product that has to deliver. And when they're both under the same person, that in itself should be a red flag. So this right here, I'll just tell you right now, this interview I think is very important. It's public, guys. Pay attention to this. Listen to this. Retweet this. Make more content on this, for God's sakes, man. It's only going to get better from here. Okay, he talks about Press Pass. Press Pass was the first game-used products. I thought that was interesting. leadership at PressPass all worked at the same, together. This is very interesting to me. Right around here, guys. Boom. Listen.
Realigned itself very differently. But if you go back and you look now at who are some people in critical, important decisions at companies, you got Nick Mativich, who's with us, who was a brand guy at PressPass. You got Tom Farrell, who's with Upper Deck now, who was with us at PressPass. And you got Kevin O'Neill, who's with Tops, who was at PressPass. We all work together at the same time. And I don't know that everybody really realizes that, but it's amazing how we've all stayed in the industry while some other heavy hitters have exited. So
now, again, this man, maybe again, it's the way he's laughing, but to me, dude, that's like if you were listening to, I don't know, politically, it's like these 5 guys they're all friends. They're all 4 friends. I didn't know this. I think this is important, and I'm just bringing light to this. You tell me. But if Panini, Upper Deck, and Tops, executive leadership all used to work together at PressPass, and they're all good chummy friends, and clearly they're all running these monopoly organizations who, probably play golf on Fridays, and one says, hey, I'm going to make a Trevor Lawrence card, and the other guy from Panini says, hell you will. He goes, no, we really are. I mean, is this what's going on? Are they not gaming the industry? Is regulation, isn't there anything someone should be paying attention to? That, to me, that's a smoking gun in some ways. Maybe I'm wrong, but you tell me. I just thought that was very interesting. He says that, and the way he brags about it, to me, it rubs me the wrong way. Here's another one. 7 million autos Panini does per year. How do we extend the print runs? Okay, 9:15. And then I love the evil giggle here. So let's go to 9. And I shouldn't say, I love the giggle. Let you tell me what it is.
You sort of see a moment where demand was happening for those and just jump into it.
The first 2 of the 3. It was intentional because you're getting to the point. Let me give you a number that'll probably blow your mind. It blows mine. We run 7 million autographs a year through our organization. 7 million. Right? So you get to the point where you got this giant scope of things going on. And so we kept looking at, because let's face it, players' contracts have changed, their commitment to their time commitments. Now with coronavirus, it's even crazier. And so getting more autographs is problematic, right? I'll just be honest with you, it's problematic. And so we were looking at other ways to try to extend print runs or create some value without having an autograph, if you will. So it was intentional. How it's taken off, I don't know that anybody could have predicted that. We hoped it would happen, but I'd be lying if I said I thought it would be as big a deal as it is now.
That's humble for you, DJ.
I guess so.
So again, if you're listening to what he says there, okay, they have so many autographs, and they're looking to extend print runs with those 7 million autographs, right? I think this is a critical point, because in the next part you're going to listen to, where we go, increase retail prices. Margins were too high.
Figure out how do we enforce it? Wrong word, but how do we manage it?
Sure, absolutely. Ivan and I had conversations about this, in coming up with some ideas about what could be done. And Ivan,
okay, and they're talking right now about retail hoarding. And here's a point I forgot to mention. At 11 minutes, he says, let's go back to this, because I think this is where
I get it that there's only so much Panini can do, but knowing that retail has always been viewed as kind of the entry-level gateway to bring more people into the hobby, what's ended up happening is that product, instead of ending up in more hands, is ending up in less hands.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about that and what you guys have been able to do, if anything?
Yeah, and it's, believe me, it's concern is not the right word. I'm obviously, we're watching it and we're trying to address it, because to ignore it is not the right response. Clearly, we can't control what happens in an aisle in Target and Walmart. That's up to Target and Walmart how they want to manage those spaces. They have both made it very clear that they do not want to inconvenience or impact the customer buying experience by limiting purchases per visit. Now, there have been some individual stores where the manager has made that decision. You've seen some postings on Twitter where people show a sign, but that is a manager's decision, and once it is discovered, if you will, by corporate, they are asked not to do it again, because corporate does not want.
Listen to this, okay? So first of all, he talks about something very important. Okay, I want to stress this. Target and Walmart are very important to Panini's relationship. They do know that. They're not going to get rid of that. But they say that Target and Walmart corporately do not want to put limits. I do believe this, because they have not put bot technology really in place on the online stores. And if they hear about local manager doing that, they tell them not to. Now, that might have changed since this was recorded 6 months ago. And I will say in my area, some Targets have put limits, and I do think they should. And I've said to people, go to the manager and complain so the managers put limits. I think that's one way to address it. Now, I agree. Why would corporate ever want to put a limit? If you can sell all the product on the shelf space and put more on there fast, that's all they care about, right? So I think he's very honest here, brutally honest here.
Want them to do that. So anyway, so clearly now, 3 months ago, we started to see it, but it wasn't like it is now. And there's a variety of factors now, right? You've got work at home or furloughed, or just more people have time to go sit in a Walmart and Target and wait for a service rep to come into the store and service the store and then buy everything. Obviously, resale value, you guys touched upon that, has gone into retail, and it's just as crazy in retail as it is.
So I'm going to go through this real quickly here. What he basically talks about is, do they try to find a plan? One plan talks about is giving retail products to hobby shops. And I don't know if that's happened or not. I know my local hobby store has retail. I think they've always had access to it, but now I guess they have better access to it. And they did price it at $20 a box, which I was happy to see that. Increased retail prices. That can't happen because the margins are too big, and they want to leave that alone. That's an interesting comment. Let me play that for you at 4:15.
Force it, wrong word, but how do we manage it? Sure, absolutely. Ivan and I had conversations about this, in coming up with some ideas about what could be done. And Ivan actually, was the one that said, well, what about the value equation? When you look at what you're getting for the cost at retail, has there been any internal discussions about raising retail prices, or is Big Box just going to be like, yeah, no, you can't do that?
The answer is yes. And then the second answer to what you just said is that is a challenge. We have talked about that because clearly you guys all know that we've done that in the hobby channel. We call it dynamic pricing, whatever you want to call it. And, there's a lot of money in play in the secondary market. And
dynamic pricing, don't miss that, because that's what they're basically calling the auctioning thing right now, right? And they're using dynamic pricing in the hobby. And they're talking about retail.
For a long time, we left that margin alone. And then it just got to be so large that we said we have to participate. We owe it to our licensors and our business partners, and we owe it to ourselves, quite frankly, because we're building the product. So the answer, Rob, is yeah, we're trying to figure that out. We've talked to, just to go back to this, we've talked to both MJH and Excel. MJH services the Walmart stores, and then Excel marketing in Des Moines, Iowa services Target. We've talked to them whenever we've seen any crazy stuff on Twitter, like somebody says, hey, I just encountered a rep, and they were texting somebody to come in and buy product. We've actually had a couple reps removed once we could demonstrate.
So it's interesting, again, they do monitor that. And I can understand, I'll tell you as a business person, that they could look at this. And the NBA could come and say, look, we see you guys leaving a lot of margin on the table. You're selling stuff for $20 a box. It's selling for $200 a box. All that, $180 of NBA licensing money we're missing out on. And that's actually an interesting argument there. I haven't heard it said in that way. And forgive the dogs barking in the background. They're going to continue to bark. Let me go up to what I think is very important. This part of the video, I think, is the number one reason why you should be watching this video. You should go watch it and repeat this and clip it over and over and over.
A year ago, August of 2019, for the month of August 2019 in Walmart, through the Walmart registers, Panini America sold $2 million worth of sports trading card products. Okay, so that's blended stuff. So a year ago, this August, the month that just finished, $15 million. So $15 million versus $2 million. Now you guys know the prices are still the same. So what does that tell you about production?
It had to go up.
It had to go up.
Well, that's it. Obviously,
wow. That is such a sinister giggle. Do you hear what he said? $2 to $15 million difference, okay, in year-over-year sales through the Walmart on Panini. How did they do it? Prices didn't go up. They made that much more product. Let that sink in. And please tell me again how the hobby's in fine shape and these guys are all stewards and they're protecting us and don't worry, they don't want this crap. Why? They all work together. They're all buddies, smoking cigars, probably playing golf. Why are we trusting this, people? They're telling us what they're doing. They told us they were handcuffed by restraints from collectors in the past, and now they're not. Oh, my goodness. Forgive the dogs in the back. I'm going to have to let them go. Okay, I'm going to fast forward. It talks about managing perception, which I think is very important. He talks a little bit about industry being transparent. Let me go here to industry being transparent at 22:15.
Funny, this industry has always been very transparent, right? I mean, it's funny. I've been telling a couple people lately who I've seen, outside work, and they say, how are things going? And I go, they're going great. I said, but, it's funny. My challenges now are coming from positive stuff. And they say, what do you mean? And I say, well, I got people just, coming at me and getting mad at me because, they can't get access.
Again, I would just say, he makes this comment that the industry is transparent. It is the most oblique industry I've ever been in my life. I think I could go find out from Budweiser how many bottles of beer they make. I'm pretty sure that they'd have to legally tell me that. I know all the cigarette manufacturers have to, right? I don't know. In fact, even in the currency world, the bit currencies and all that stuff, there's a number they give you. This industry, there's no transparency at all, right? About how much you make and how you make it, right? These are factors you make, the fact you're diluting the value of the product, the fact you don't put in autographs and relics anymore. This is all just, anyway, I'd say mind-blowing for me. What surprises you? His last comments are Donruss Basketball 2020 surprises him. And this is done about 6 or 8 months ago. Look at Donruss. He must be really surprised with 2021, right? I mean, $1,000 a box they sold through their dynamic pricing model. Okay, let's go on to the next interview. Thank you for hanging in there. A little bit more to go through. This one's not quite as detailed. I'll even say this one. Tracy Hackler. Let's go to product increased market demand, Panini consistently talking to retailers. Let's go to 7 minutes.
Talking to our retail partners and our distribution partners on how to just make that a better situation. And I think we've taken many great steps and probably more to come for sure.
Do you think we'll see more stores go to like moving the product behind the counter and saying, you can only buy one box per customer? I see that it seems like there's certain locations of like Target that have moved to that, but right now it's not very consistent.
Yeah, I think there's probably some kind of happy medium where that makes a lot more sense. The problem that we're up against as well is that Walmart and Target aren't in the business of trying to limit people from buying things in their store. So, but I do think there is something that can be done more along the lines of what you're talking about, Jeff, to kind of limit or per customer purchase limits. And I don't think any of that stuff's off the table. But there's a lot of calls, a lot of meetings going on the daily about how we kind of make the situation as digestible as we can.
Yeah, and I understand the challenge. You're right. Walmart and Target are not, as you just said, they're not in the business of limiting customers buying things. That's not what they do with any other product, really. So why would they do that with trading cards? That's challenging for them. Now, I will say, as much as everyone in the hobby complains about the fact that,
I just want to get time out. So Walmart does limit guns when they sold them, right? I think Target and Walmart in certain states have to limit cigarettes and liquor. So they are in the business of doing what the law says when they have to do it. Now, I'm not saying there should be a law on sports cards, but what I am going to say real quickly here, Tracy, is why in the hell are you not on the same page as this man is? Because he just said a totally different thing. You're telling me that you deal with this problem with the retailers and you're in constant communication trying to find ways and maybe caps or something that would work and blah, blah, blah. But he just told me a minute ago that Target has no interest in ever putting caps, Walmart, and if they see caps, they'll have them removed. So again, you're a small company, Panini. This is a big problem I've had with Tracy's. Tracy never seems to be on the same page as what he's coming out the sales and the product development side. And I'm wondering, is marketing not underneath this same guy? Is there a separate VP of marketing that Tracy, because I think Tracy would be reporting up to DJ, right? So you think you'd be paying attention to what your boss says here. And again, Tracy, I appreciate you're probably one of the nicer faces of Panini, your open boxes and stuff, but man, you need to go to your boss and look, you're leaving me out to hang and look bad. Gives confidence in low print demand. Listen to this. This is
products aren't available at retail. The opposite would be that you print to demand and you print so much that, it's always available in retail because you're just going to print more, which is what happened in the 1980s. And so I will say that the fact that it is so scarce in retail does at least provide me with confidence as an investor that you are not overprinting, you are not even meeting current demand with the print runs that are going on today.
That's a great point, Jeff. I was going to bring that up when you got to another question later in the interview. But yeah,
let me again stop this. God help me, people. And Jeff, I'm going to give you I'm going to say you didn't know about this, but look, if this guy just told us a few months ago that he printed more to make from $2 million to $15 million, then clearly there is no reason for us to trust that just because it's not on the shelves that they are responsibly printing the product. Not at all. That's a poor conclusion to make. But it is as this gentleman said earlier, it's about managing perception, people. So if I give you the perception, sports card world, that you can't get it, you're going to keep driving the price up. And this is why I think I'm just getting disgusted with Panini and what they're doing with sports cards, guys. I love this hobby. I really do. And I'll tell you personally, I don't buy as much. I can't as much as I used to. My kids and I don't have exorbitant collections. You don't see me bragging on buys and sales and stuff like that. But if you don't listen to this, it just... Big number, no one wants to know. Listen to this.
Are as different as there are different brand managers, but I think by and large, most things the print runs are known on. I don't know that you'll ever know what the full print run of a base set is or a base.
See, most things the print run is known on, but you'll never know.
Parallel, probably because it's a big number, and I don't know that anybody wants to know. But I mean, I think it still stands.
Again, let's commend him for the honesty. Why is everyone? Because it's a big number, ha 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 ha, and nobody wants to know. This might be the first true answer I've heard Tracy say, guys. Jeff, why don't you say what? It's a big number? Because he just said the product managers know what the print numbers are. Like somewhere, in fact, I'm not encouraging this. Don't take this for any wrong reason, but sometime those numbers will leak. And when that leaks out to the public, what are you going to say, Panini? Are you going to chuckle? Kids access to the hobby, big number. Panini Designs. I'm not going to let you listen to all this. I do encourage you to listen to it. I will say this. Kids, he talks about kid access. Stickers, adding sports cards is not the answer. In fact, here's his answer. He goes, well, we want them to do the sticker collections, which no collector is paying attention to, so now we put cards in them. So now collectors pay attention to stickers. That didn't make it a kids accessible product. It actually made the stickers less accessible to kids. And you just said that. So listen to that part. He talks about Panini Designs and innovation, Color Blast and Kaboom. Kaboom's been around forever. It just recently got exciting, but they've been doing it every year over and over and over and over and over, just like Color Blast. It just came out. They're going to do it every year, every product over and over and over. That's not called innovation. That's called overuse. Sticker versus auto. Interesting point here. He talks about Panini Prism. The autos have been sticker because when Panini Prism was released in the product time. Now this year, it's released late in the season. Do you think Panini Basketball could have on-card sticker or on-card autos? It'd be a smart move if they could. It'd also give you no excuse why they couldn't this year. Redemptions, lost in the mail. I think this is interesting. I'll let you listen to this, but it brings me over to the last topic of this video. And that is listening the other night to some of the lawsuits, and I encourage you to listen to this one. I did not bookmark this video as I did these other ones because this is a longer video. There's a few pertinent clips that I think you should listen to. Here's one.
They mentioned that it comes down to things like space, where do we keep them, logistics, organization, that sort of thing. Which I understand that too, but I don't know that that's the proper out for them. I think that you buy a product, especially if you're buying a product that is past expiry on the redemption, that's sitting on the shelves at some card shops. That product is now lost value. So if you buy it, you're taking a big gamble that if you get a card of the redemption, you're SOL. But the owner of the card shop is now, it's like a sunk cost sitting on the shelf there. What's he supposed to do? And how good is he or she gonna feel to sell it to a customer who's gonna get skunked because they get an expired redemption? So, but I am aware that the card companies, they do have some programs in place where I don't know if all of them do. I know some, and by some I mean Upper Deck, where they will do some things for your expired redemptions, whether it's put you in a draw to win something or exchange them out. And another company, I don't remember if it's Upper Deck or Panini, will actually honor them a year past the redemption date, which is a nice, it's a concession in the right direction.
So what I bring this up for, I don't want to pause these guys,
whether it's enough,
people, is that there's a great conversation here about what Panini's dealing with legally. So two things I want you to bring up to your attention. Panini's dealing with some class action lawsuits on redemptions, and I do think this is worth looking into. The argument they're making here is that a product should not have an expiration date at all. It should never. It should have some value. Even if you can't honor that autograph for whatever reason, right, i.e. Kobe, you should still find something of equivalent value because the person paid for that, right? And some of the manufacturers have gotten lucky on this. I think Topps has gotten off on this. I'm going to commend Leaf. They honor all redemptions. They made comment about this. But there's a class action lawsuit against Panini for their redemptions. And I will say I'm looking into this because I have my own issues with Panini not doing a glass redemption, which does not require any player involvement at all. It can be simply manufactured. I've been waiting over 3.5 years for that, right? And that's an unfulfilled purchase that I've had that has lost and gained value. Anyway, the other thing that he talks about here is Panini's move on trademarks. And I think, again, this is something else people should be aware of. Panini is growing. Where they've been investing all the money they're making is in their law and in their sales. They're not investing it in customer service. I've had more and more problems with customer service. Everybody can talk about that. They're not investing it in real innovation, right, or getting access to more autographs. They're not building a bigger team to go out and get autographs or do more to get on-card autographs, right? They're not building their redemption team. They're investing money in legal teams and sales, and they're infringing their territory in many spaces. So I will tell you what I will say, guys. If you've gotten this far in the video, do it, collect what you love, buy what you like, do what you got to do. But when you think about Panini, think about some of the markets I would ask you to maybe think second on. I will never buy, well, I won't say never, I will hopefully never buy Panini Baseball, right? I will just, it makes me mad. I look forward to Topps' Lawrence product. I don't even know what it is, but I think it's great. I cheer for Upper Deck and Leaf, the little dogs right now, which I think is ironic because, Upper Deck was the bad guy, 30 years ago. But I hope this video brings your attention to what Panini's saying, what they're doing, and we need to start holding them accountable to. We, not just the consumers, but we, the content providers, guys. If I look back on these interviews, if I look back at House of Jordan and, Go GTS and who was this, Jeff and Jeremy, we're being too soft when we interview these guys. Jeremy had Panini on his side. I'm not going to pull them up. There's a good interview, too, by the way, on the product. We're being too soft on the questions. We really got to start pushing back. If you want to give your consumer of your content, trust that you're valued, I don't say valued, but if you're on the consumer side, man, you got to ask some harder questions here. You got to call BS every now and then. Maybe even tell them, look, guys, I'm going to ask you a hard question in this interview. You got to be prepared for a better answer than this. Because if I listen to this video, it's just as like listening to nails on a chalkboard. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It took a lot of time putting this together. If you made it this far, please leave a great comment, thoughts. Have a great day. Stay healthy and subscribe if you haven't.